Stardom.
All right. So, the 5-star Grand Prix this year, for those that are familiar, very similar to, or those who are unfamiliar, very similar to the New Japan G1 Climax. It's robin tournament split with all the contestants split evenly into two blocks. They will face everybody in their respective blocks, and then based off wins, losses, and draws, they will be awarded points. If you win your match, this year is 15-minute time limit, I believe. Like most years it was. If you win your match, you get 2 points. If you lose your match, if you tie, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get not shit. So after you tally all that up and you go through tiebreakers, you determine who wins the block. That winner of their block will go to the final and face the winner of the other block. The blocks in the 5-star Grand Prix are called the Blue Stars and the Red Stars. We will
That's right.
switch it
Bloods
off
and
and call them
Crips.
red blocks and blue blocks. It just know we'll call it colors. If you want Crips and Bloods, whatever you want to do, it's all good. This year it will be the most like the prior traditional New Japan G1 blocks where there are 10 wrestlers in each block. And This thing is loaded.
Yeah,
It has
man.
been noted. We have talked about this over the years of, last year there were 26 wrestlers, and we were thinking like, wow, we're going to come up on a point where you're going to be quality wrestlers that just will not make the cut. And this is a young group of wrestlers with average age of about 27 at this point. And we're like, wow, Lady C, somebody that's good enough that could probably be in the tournament now at this point. Saida has proved herself. Tekla missed last year because of injury. She's definitely one of the 20 best wrestlers in this promotion. And we were
Koguma.
thinking just cutting down to 26, how hard it would be. They cut down to 20. There are people that are going to be on these undercards and some of these tags that are going to be furious that they did not make this Grand Prix.
Hey, man. Promotion, this Bushiroad promotion had the heart and made the correct call to cut this shit down to 20.
Good point. Good point.
Just
Good point.
saying. Just
Good
saying.
point. Good point. And they did not like need a whole outfit of gaijins to flock in that are like on the sub brand in America to come in to get to that number either.
Hey,
This is all Nihon doing this basically, except for like Mariah May.
yeah, man. Yeah, I watched. I'll just quickly mention, like, I've been following a little bit of the G1 so far, and there's some nasty tropes already jumping out, like for as far as things not to like.
Okay.
But there are. It looks like there's a slow start for pretty much all the main eventers, and there's been some good matches. As far as like one where I really liked the Gene Blast, Yoda Suji,
Of course.
and Kaito Kiyomiya. I've been just looking at a couple of the other things though. I expect nothing now from Gabe Kidd and Alex Coughlin when I was excited about those guys going
Mm-hmm.
into it, and I think they obviously Kenta is doing his thing, and then there's just a lot of shitters up and down that you do not have in the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix.
Right. And I mean that's been the case since, I mean, honestly, since the pandemic. Like um I think 2020 probably the G1 was probably still better just because the high end was so high, but like the floor is higher in Stardom. But then, last year in 2021, the 5-star Grand Prix was a better round robin tournament both years. When I found out they were cutting down to 20, and then when they gave out that name of like the first 18, I was like, oh, they finna three Pete, right? It's Shaq and Kobe, Jordan and Pippen, all that. So Barnes type of crazy thing with injuries, type of weird booking, whatever else. This thing's gonna be loaded. And I think to a lot of people's uh talk that I've heard about with the G1 so far, they have enjoyed, like, even though there's more matches, they have enjoyed the part where like it's a 20-minute time limit, so matches don't, drag out. Well, 5-star Grand Prix has been at 15 except for 2021. So like 15 minutes. If you are a person that likes sprint wrestling, this is the tournament for you because all you're going to get is like matches that go 8 minutes, 13 minutes, and they are just basically just trying to drop people on their heads and necks, and then other people trying to get right back up and continue fighting. It's awesome.
Love it.
The last 2 years, opening nights have been incredible. Shows packed with some, at least four star matches on both shows. This year they decided to go, instead of a Saturday, Sunday double hitter weekend, they decided to do it with one weekend, opening weekend, and the card is loaded. Rich, do you want to start with going down let's actually go down the blocks, and we'll get to to night one. But going down this block, let's start with the red block. The red block is absolutely loaded. The red block starts with Ami Sourei, Hazuki, Mayu Iwatani, Natsuko Tora, Natsupoi. I should probably stop and I'm gonna start from the beginning again. Ami Sourei, Hazuki, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Mayu Iwatani, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Natsuko Tora, Natsupoi, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Saya Kamitani, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Starlight Kid, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Suzu Suzuki, one of the best wrestlers in the world. Shuri, one of the elite wrestlers in the world. Tam Nakano, one of the best wrestlers in the world. I feel like I just said eight wrestlers that were some of the best wrestlers in the world out of 10. I feel like this is a pretty loaded block.
Yeah, man. Like, this is like, you started talking about great blocks that you've ever seen. This might be the single best Stardom block ever. By the time all is said and done, especially taking into account younger versions of some of these people who are just better now than they were. Mm-hmm. And then, the blue block it's not like the blue block is some slouch block either.
Correct.
So, like, Zek Maki actually brings up a good point. He said people were hoping Mercedes would try to do a 5-star GP. I don't put that out of the question if she was healthy. Like, could she have, like, done that if she wanted to check a bucket list goal?
Right. That's the only reason why it would happen. It's something that she wanted to do, and they were like, okay, well, we're not going to say no.
Right. But yeah, just looking at this block, there's lots of intriguing matchups, I think, between Shuri and Suzu Suzuki in night one. Obviously, Saya Kamitani and Tam Nakano, like, they've had a long, lengthy history. Natsupoi and Starlight Kid, they've had awesome matches in the past. Mayu Iwatani being in there with Starlight Kid, they are usually fighting on the last day of the block. And James,
and it's now happened for a third straight year.
Is this the year? Is Starlight Kid finally going to do it and beat her?
I mean, at some point, she has to, like, beat her in advance, right? Because, like, I feel like the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, Kid was in a win and get in situation, depending on a little bit of luck or whatever, was in contention to the final night. And Mayu, because of Oedo Tai shenanigans or whatever else, would be, like, already pseudo eliminated, and then Mayu would beat Kid, and then, like, Mayu gets her record to where, like, she finishes, like, top 3 in her block or something like that, but was eliminated before the bell actually rang, kind of.
Tam Mayu
at some point it's gonna have to happen.
Tam Mayu is there. The throwback match of, like, one of the first great short Stardom matches I ever loved. Starlight Kid versus Hazuki. Let's run it back.
Yeah. Yeah. Think how much better Starlight Kid is now than then.
Bro. It's gonna be great. I haven't mentioned any Natsuko Tora.
She's there to play spoiler. Like, she's Fale.
But Ami's in there with Shuri. I guess we should start going through. Let's go through each person and name, like, 2 big matches or 3 big matches of theirs.
Okay, so all right, so I'm doing alphabetical order, first name alphabetical. So I'm going with Ami Sourei. So for me, I'm looking at her last match, and it's versus Shuri, and, like, that's a big match for her. Obviously, she's number 3 in her faction. She's facing her faction leader, and she's obviously, that's going to be the match to showcase, like, her growth over the past year and a half, roughly, in Stardom. Was the former Futures champion, lost it to Rena earlier in the year. I feel like, given last year that she had a winning record, she went on a big streak in the back half of the tournament, I believe. I don't know if she goes on a streak at any point, but, like, obviously, given that she's now the big one on the block, now that Himeka has left the promotion, I feel like at some she's going to have a good showing. So things I'm looking forward to her is matches versus Kamatani, given her match in the white belt for the white belt with her, in Mayu because she had a really good match with Mayu as well. So those would be the ones that come to mind for me.
I think also we should mention like this night one is Ami and Tora against each other, right? And
Yeah.
it's like the rest of the block, like they're getting that right out the way. So it's like, which one of y'all fighting for who's y'all fighting for the seller essentially? Like, let's
Mm.
see like who's going to try to stand out. So I got a feeling it's Ami. So
Yeah, I mean, they could have Tora win because obviously, Tora's not gonna. I don't know how Tora's gonna do well, but she's obviously gonna play spoiler. So like, if she's gonna play spoiler to somebody big, she has to lose to somebody that you think that like she has to lose, or sorry, she has to beat some people that you'd be like, I don't know, or whatever else. So like, you kind of make it interesting. I could see Tora beating her, but either way, like that's gonna be early in the show, and early in the show, lower on the card, like Tora and Ami can have a match where they just slap or sorry, uh, shoulder tackle each other a bunch and hoss wrestle around and get out of there in like 6 minutes. That could happen. So I don't think that match. I'm not actually concerned about that match. I'm more concerned about Tora versus like somebody like the higher level wrestlers, where it's like, okay, this is somebody having a slot against somebody to have a 4-star match here, and you're now going to have some thing that's okay.
up next we got Hazuki.
Yep.
So some of the matches I think would be interesting for Hazuki. Obviously, her and Sai Kamatani had an incredible match. I think that was earlier this year.
Yes, it was
Um,
February's pay-per-view. Yeah.
Hazuki and Starlight Kid, as I mentioned, and
Yes.
Hazuki and Suzu Suzuki might be interesting as well.
I don't remember. Their match was really good last year. I don't remember how good though. I probably gave it 4. I can't really remember because like there was a lot of a lot of this block is a continuation from the Blue Stars from last year. So like Hazuki, Mayu, Nasapoi, Kid, a lot of that was like that core, or that was a good chunk of it. And it's almost like they decided to break up. Like they took Shuri and Tam from that usual run and put that with them to kind of break up, the pattern. But yeah, that match is gonna be great. The matches that I'm most concerned that I most want to see, like obviously I'm going to skip past that disappointing final night match for her, but um I've wanted to see her versus Shuri ever since she came back. And when they're in tags, they're great together. And I've wanted to see a white belt or a big title, big showcase match with her and Tam for years. I'd only seen them wrestle one time before. That was 2019 Grand Prix, and that was really good, even though it was it went short. So like now that Tam's way better than then, and Hazuki is still Hazuki, like I want to see them have a killer match too. So those are two that come to mind. And you know, like you just look at it, it's like she's never going to have bad matches. Like I forgot where I put her average star rating last year, but she was way up there. She may have been even an MVP for me, or behind Julia. But you look at who she has to wrestle, and it's like she even had a 4-star. I thought she had like a 4-star match with Ami last year, where like she just carried Ami, and like you look at this set of opponents, it's like she's going to have another killer tournament, regardless of the wins and losses, and whether or not she goes on a losing streak or a win streak like she did last year. She's just going to be great.
Yeah. So up next, of course, the icon Mayu Watani. Pick your poison on this one. Like she's got like lots of stuff that jumps out, including her and Tam, her and Shuri, her and Saya Kamatani, her and Starlight
Yep.
Kid. Like she's loaded in this thing.
Yeah. The one that I'm most interested in actually is her versus Mayu. I can't remember the date on it.
Who versus Mayu?
Sorry, Mayu versus Shuri. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is on
September 3rd.
September 3rd on a pay-per-view. That's Hiroshima Sun Plaza. That's actually the same venue where Mayu dropped the belt to Utami, the red belt to Utami back in 2020. So yeah, like they've already set that up to be like that's going to be a gigantic match. Obviously with the 15-minute time limit, I feel like when I watch them in tags, they're on a certain level that is just higher than the matches they've had in singles matches before together, and that's kind of really saying something. Seeing that like I think I've seen them have 2 4.5-star matches before. Like the time limit might actually like get Mayu out of the I have to sell for Shuri and have a more back and forth type of thing in a sprint type of form. So I think like that match could be electric. So that's number one on my list. I also opening night, lots of upsets last year. I think Hazuki could still one on Mayu this year.
Something to take note of. Up next, Natsuko Tora. I'm gonna try to play this straight, but her and Starlight Kid, I think you want to start seeing that leadership struggle of Odeo Tai, and maybe Saya Kamatani in Natsuko because the whole thing for fall off from the cage match.
Mm-hmm.
If this was Utami or something, I think that would be a natural fit. But Kamatani
Yeah.
can kind of fight in her place. Aside from that, I don't have much for Natsuko.
So for me, looking at it, obviously they put Natsuko with Hazuki in last night for some reason. Obviously, Natsuko was Hazuki's retirement match when she retired in 2019 before she came back in 2021. But they never had a real like singles confrontation since then. They've had talks about how like what the hell are you doing back here, that sort of thing, but not like actual face-to-face confrontation. They can get to that here. So that would be something to point out from a storytelling standpoint. Stands out to me. Her versus Shuri. I enjoyed when they wrestled each other in 2020 in the G1, like or the G1, the Grand Prix, because like Shuri brought it out of her. She basically beat Natsuko into trying hard. So like,
so this
like,
was some Joe Jackson.
like, bro, it was like, yeah, it pretty much like I remember Natsuko. Remember she was doing the whole
Yeah, the
have these bad
switch.
matches, grab the chain, throw somebody, wrap it around someone's neck, throw them over the rope and hang them, and get the match thrown on DQ and lose matches. Like Shuri wouldn't have none of that. She just beat her ass until Natsuko tried to actually wrestle, and the match was good. So I'm interested in that. There's also like the long running her and Tam thing or whatever else. I could see Tam dropping a fall to her just cause, but just keep the points together. So those be the matches that come to mind for me.
Saya Kamatani. Seeing this thing, she's got obviously Tam night one. That
Yep,
feels like upset alert. I mean, she did. Well, actually, yeah, the generational struggle, they eliminated each other. I
yep.
think so. I think they could set that up as a fall title match. Trying to see what else. Starlight Kid inside Kamatani is always a good pairing.
Of course.
Hazuki inside Kamatani, as we mentioned. Shuri inside Kamatani, like all
Oh my
throughout.
god.
This was like the champions last year. They're red and the white, and here they are, colliding. She's got Suzu the last night.
Yep.
She's
That match
also
would be
got
great.
Mayu. So she's quietly loaded, I think, as well. On
Yeah.
that.
She would be my pick to win this block. Um, if not for the if they were to have broken up, Queen Quest were to have broken up, I would have, predicted a Saya Kamatani and Utami final. And like, quite frankly, like Kamatani's going to win one of these one of the next 3 years, whether it's this year, next year, the year after that. She's winning this fucking tournament. So, she's going to be on watch for. She's going to be, in contention for a long time. And she's always in the last 2 years, she's fared well as far as like being in her block, like in contention. Like last year she had the lead going to the final night and blew it. And the year before, I think it was the same thing. Or no, 2021 when she came into it and blew it, and then last year she was in contention, just ultimately didn't get it done. So while being a champion, which is saying something. So yeah, obviously as you mentioned, Starlight Kid. Now you mentioned Master Shuri. Rich, I implore you, go to the 2021 G1. I think it's or Grand Prix. I think it's either the first show or the second show because Shuri faced her and Mike in the same weekend. Watch Kamatani versus Shuri, and then watch Micah versus Shuri too because Shuri was fucking awesome. She beat the shit out of both of them, and it was awesome. So yeah, I want to see another one of those. Obviously, more competitive match now that Kamatani's leveled up since then. But I want to see that. Her versus Mayu, like the things they showed in the first generational struggle match, is basically having high speed, pairing off. That was super fun. So
Tall,
and
high
obviously
speed.
and obviously the Tam match. So like I there's no bad matches for her except for maybe Nasco because Nasco has injured her before, but that's it.
Me being the hater I am, I skipped over Natsupoi on accident. So Natsupoi also here. I think her and Tam, maybe she has a chance to win me over again here.
Wait.
Here they are fighting.
Let me get this right. You hate Natsupoi more than Tam, but if she faces Tam, then you'll root for Natsupoi because that means Tam may lose.
No. Look, I don't care who wins. I need her to show some fight and not just going behind somebody.
Oh man, that's hilarious. All right,
show some fight and spirit. Show your own will. Get out of the mud, Natsupoi.
All right, so Natsupoi and Tam, obviously that's the last night of the block, so that's definitely a highlight for me. Her versus Shuri, I've wanted to see that match in full form. They've always been opposite blocks, and like
I got
Shuri
a lot
and
of
Natsupoi,
checks to cut.
When Shuri and Natsupoi get in the ring and tag together, like Shuri hits her as hard as she would hit Utami. So like I think that match is gonna be incredible. Like her, we've seen her have great matches with all these people before. Or it seems like Kid, we've seen her have great matches. Souza, we saw her have a great match last year. Her and Mayu have had great matches the last 2 years. Her and Kamatani have had classics at this point. Yeah. So Hazuki, that was a great match too. Yeah. Like I want to see. You know what? I will throw this on her. I want to see Ami have a great match with Natsupoi. Like if we're gonna have if Ami is going to progress, she needs to have a great match with Natsupoi because like everybody has great matches with Natsupoi. Like unless you're in a strap match, that's it. So, yeah, that'd be what I've been looking for: Shuri match, the Tam match, and also the Ami match because I want to see like the level up over the year that Ami's had.
I think I'm interested in Natsupoi and Suzuki.
Yep.
I got a feeling I'm going to be, hurting in my pockets. I got a lot of checks to cut to, inflict some pain upon Natsupoi until, man, I'm going to have to give Tam money too, huh? Now that I think about it.
I don't know how you get down with Tam.
Yeah,
the only reason why you flipped up on Natsupoi because you with Tam. So I don't know how you feel about Tam.
Yeah, I ain't above cutting the check for Tam to inflict some pain, Shout out to Chihiro Hashimoto. Dropping Natsupoi over the rope.
Yeah, I saw that. I'll get to that match too. But there was so much fucking wrestling. Like you had Collision, you had opening weekend of the G1, you had Triple Mania, or sorry, whatever Triple A thing it was. Was that Triple Mania?
It was one of those.
Yeah, that was one of Triple Manias. You had the Collision stuff. Like there was so much stuff, and then you had as you just mentioned, the Sendai show. So there was just a lot of stuff that I'm gonna have to get through it later in the week, and then maybe if there's time, we'll talk about it later in the week or next week, whatever else. But I'll get to it. I'll try to. I'm always feel like I'm always behind on watching quality wrestling. Meanwhile, I'm watching other nonsense, but whatever. Up next, Starlight Kid. Man, I'm always gonna want to see the Mayu match first and foremost. Because the story is like, when is she gonna beat her? And like when she beats her, is that gonna take her over the top to where like she can, make a final, potentially even win the thing because she's like has that boost from actually beating her on the final night. Seen a lot of these matches already before. I've never seen her with Shuri. I know it keeps coming up, but like now that like
Shuri.
Tam and Shuri, yeah. Now that Tam and Shuri are like basically in this block with like the high speedsters, like I'm really interested to see what they do. So, it's almost like, for years now, it's been like Azumi has been like the speedster for Shuri and Kid has been the speedster for Julia. Now that they're like flipped now, it's like, all right, so now I got to wrestle the other one now. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. I'm interested to see how the tour thing goes because like, are they going to have her leak points to her quote unquote leader and be on that bullshit or not?
Yeah, I think that's something to really think about. Like if you're someone that's a Starlight Kid is a dark horse person to win a block or something, I think if she beats Natsuko Tora, I say you run to the register and start. But if she loses to her, you prepare for heartbreak. I think. And her and Natsupoi, that's always a natural match.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Starlight Kid and Kamatani have always done well together.
Yep.
I can't recall really Tam and Starlight Kid really ever getting into it. Um,
They have there. It's weird. They weirdly have, given how good they are, given their history as both being the stars and all that kind of stuff. They weirdly, and also we were tag team before. Like, they really do not have good chemistry. Like, Tam has better matches with Azumi. Um, Starlight Kid, like they've had two matches in like the last, I can remember, like 2020, like early 2021, before Tam won the white belt. They had a match because Tam got pinned by Kid, and Tam ended up pinning her back in a singles match. And that match was just, it was like a 3.5 star thing. You expect better from both of them. And then they gave Starlight Kid a white belt match against Tam that won on a pay-per-view. It was on a like a road to level venue or whatever else. And that match was great. Well, I thought it was great. But like I think most people gave it like 3 3/4. But the whole match was based around like Oedo Tai's cheating like crazy. Tam has a bad back, and Starlight Kid is wearing out her back, and like can Tam like fight through the bad back and all that kind of stuff to win, and eventually won. But like they have been just adequate. They have not been like the all right, go punch in the 4 1/4. Haven't had one of those yet, and it's still at play. But we'll see.
so we got Suzu Suzuki. So Suzu is away from Julia. No ice lore, unfortunately for me. Um, uh, but in lieu of the ice lore, she gets to essentially, it seems like a fresh slate for her. Her like going there and there with Tam, that should be pretty good. I
And they've
think
sold that heavily over the generational struggle stuff and also some of the road
yes,
twos of like they want to have a match with each other.
and looking at that generational struggle match, Suzu Suzuki seems like she's just this unhinged like youth that is like has lived a rough life and is willing to just challenge people that may be too big for her britches, but she doesn't know that she's like not there yet. But I think that's like what makes her almost as good as she is.
Yeah, yeah. A bit of like a reckless abandon, if you will. Like too
Yeah,
young to know that you're not supposed to be able to do these sorts of things, or too young, too inexperienced for your own good.
yeah.
Um.
Um,
So yeah.
but besides that, her and Tam, I think her and Hazuki should be fire. Her and Kamatani seem natural, and then like she's really calling out Shuri. So,
Yeah.
yeah, she's set up to
The
really impress.
so the Kamatani match for me, in particular, because like I really wanted Suzu to beat her in the Grand Prix last year and get us a white belt match, but ultimately didn't happen. Um, like one thing I wish in this block, if we had swapped out one person and put Mariah in this block, because like Suzu and Mariah have such great chemistry, like from the New Blood stuff to their Grand Prix rematch,
Yes,
like they're just great together. But yeah, like as you mentioned, Shuri, Tam comes to mind. But she was great with everybody else, like from all the high speedsters, like Poi and SOK and Hazuki. Like it's just one of those things where it's like you come up with two or three, and you're also like, well, but shit, the next four could also be just as good too. It's like this is just a loaded block with people that have even history from last year's blue block. So yeah.
Shuri.
Next up will be Shuri. I mean,
Take your pick. Shuri
I
versus
mean,
Mayu comes to mind for me. Shuri's
where do
kind
you,
of like at this level now where it's like, yeah, I don't think she'll ever be the red belt champion again, but it's just like, show us how fucking great you are as much as possible, please, until you decide otherwise.
so my question for you is, where are you setting the over under for her average star rating of this tournament?
The time is tricky for me on that, but I would think
Mm-hmm.
it'd be like 3.75, 4 stars, something like that.
I feel like she's gonna.
She should
I feel like
smash that,
I
right?
feel like there's only two matches on here where she won't finish with four. So like I feel like it's
Yeah,
gonna be higher than four.
yeah. So Shuri and Tam, that's gonna be a joy to watch.
They're
I
always
imagine.
look, man. Their tournament matches are always phenomenal. Like I gave the last 2 years when they were with each other, I gave them both 4.25. And I thought last year's one, I almost gave it 4.5. Like they're just great together in the time limit. Like it's such an easy match because like Shuri's such a badass and Tam's one of the best sellers in the world. And the whole thing is like, can Tam withstand the onslaught and then Tam, makes her charge and then it's tie game and it's like, where are we going from here? Like the way that Shuri just shut off Tam's water at the very end when she had her last gas to try to get a win last year and then had to choke her out. It was awesome. It was awesome. So I made sure to see that again. I'm trying to think, where is that in the schedule?
That is
9:20 in
9:20.
Osaka is another one because the last 2 years it's been late, like one of the last matches. So they've done it again to put them at the end, and it's going to obviously have ramifications for the leaderboard at the top going into the final night. So that's cool. I'm trying to see what is it. Yeah, we already mentioned the Mayu match on a pay-per-view, so that's going to be great. So that's also high on the list. Okay, Kamatani on 9-9. Yeah, that's going to be a killer match too because like that 9-9 Crooked Hall show is loaded. Like that's Tam and Suzu, that's Shuri and Kamatani, that's I'm trying to think who else is on that card. Let me go through.
Sure, are Starlight Kid and Hazuki, Suzu,
Natsupoi,
Tam.
sorry, not Natsupoi. Yeah, like the whole. Let me go through because I actually have a tab down here to go through.
Okay.
9-9. 9-9 is loaded. 9-9. Hazuki versus Starlight Kid, Saya versus Shuri, Suzu versus Tam, Julia versus Micah, Mariah versus Ano. It's loaded. It's loaded. It's disgusting. So yeah, seeing that you have that Kamatani match there, they're going to try and not get outdone by Julia and Mariah. So yeah, or Tam and Suzu. So yeah, they're going to kill it. So yeah, those would be my matches.
Then the red belt champion Tam Nakano. Right off the rip, night one, her and Saya Kamatani.
Yep.
Of course, her and Natsupoi. And her and Mayu, I think is her and Mayu is always, she's still chasing the win over Mayu.
Yep.
Which I don't know if she's going to get or not. Because, like, part of me wants to pick Mayu Iwatani to win this block on some Hiroshi Tanahashi 2018 shit. And like I hear the arguments like between I'm like whoever beats Tam is not winning the block. That's what I'm telling myself. So like I feel like Mayu can lose to Tam and still win the block if that makes any sense.
Wait, say that again?
I feel like Mayu can lose to Tam and still win the block.
I don't know how you have Tam beat Mayu inside of 15 minutes at this point, given the story they've told with each other since 2019. Like Tam ain't been able to, has never been able to beat her. She had 30 minutes and she needed 30 minutes and 5 seconds to beat her, but she didn't beat her in 30 minutes. So like get to 15 at this point.
Okay,
I don't think that's happening. I'm expecting the time limit draw. We get a match down the line later in the year, maybe at the beginning of next year. Who knows? But like at some point, they're going to have the match, and like we'll finally have someone win the match after they've gone to time limit draws last 3 times.
I've got Mayu Iwatani winning this block, and I'm going to pick Saya over Tam night one, and that's going to give Saya a red belt match after the Grand Prix. But ultimately, Mayu will go to the finals. I have not picked my blue block winner yet, so we'll see if it makes sense.
Okay. So, obviously, there's a bunch of matches, as you talked about, the Natsupoi match, the Mayu match. The matches that I want to see the most out of Tam, the Hazuki match that I haven't seen in like 4 years. To see the Mayu match is also a big deal because it's so fun. And like I want to see her versus Suzu after they've been kind of eyeing each other about the generational struggle thing and everything else, and the way they've sold this the way they sold that generational struggle. The second match was like 3 of these matches where they were double eliminations were like, all right, Kamatani and Tam, like y'all face off on the first night. Shuri and Suzu. Y'all face off later on, I think on the 9-9 show. And then there's also Mariah and Juliet also face off on the 9-9 show, and they double eliminate each other or whatever. So like, or not double eliminate each other, but uh, they went face to face before somebody Mayu and Mariah double eliminate each other. But like they were talking about like they were doing that match to set up like Cork and Halls and other matches through that. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in. But as far as a winner, I got either Kamatani or Mayu. Now I was thinking Mayu if Utami doesn't win the blue block, then I think Mayu can win it. Like I feel like at this point, the two people that I will put, 1 and 2 on this thing to win it would be Utami and Mayu at this point. Like I would have Julia on a chance to go double back to back, but like she faces Utami in the last night too, and I don't think that's going to have a winner.
Man, blue block. Let's get to it. Start with Azumi. So, AZM. No. So looking at Azumi's, there's always Azumi and Momo. Former team members. I gotta say, Azumi's tournament does not excite me too much. Which is crazy. It just doesn't feel like she's matched. It doesn't feel like she's matched against the type of wrestlers that would allow her to do what she does best. Like she should be in the other block, it feels like. But you got to switch those stories up. That's the only thing.
Well, she has people that she can have quality matches with.
This seems like she's gonna get fucked. Like she's gonna be having 7-minute matches here, and it's gonna be like. Yeah, it's another year.
Like last year.
Yeah, it's gonna be like another year of them not really letting Azumi stretch her legs.
Yeah. I already see that too. But what I will say is, I feel like she will maximize her time better compared to last year. When like last year's block, she had there was Mai Sakurai, Kaguma, and Momokogo, and all cap Saki. That in Sakishima, like it was a lot of like the lowest floors on in the entire tournament were like mostly on that red block. Nobody from the red block on average star rating was even top 5 in average star rating in the tournament because you had so many people who was like that's hurting your average, that's hurting your average, that's hurting your average. I feel like this block is more balanced to where like she can still have a quality tournament even though her minutes are low. Like I feel like her PER will be still very high. So
Zekamaki said this is for her breaking away from the high speed style that she kind of teased when she lost that belt, in his opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like she can't wrestle high. She can't wrestle normal pace matches. We've seen her do that at times. But I feel like with the right people, because there's enough talent in this block. Like off the top of my head, like I'm really interested to see what she does with Julia because I've seen her and Julia have had great chemistry at times in tags, in trios matches, or whatever else. But they, like I said, like it's kind of been paired off where it's like you're Donna Del Mondo, senior member that you wrestle all the time is Shuri, and like Starlight Kid has Julia. And now they have to swap. Like now is the time to actually see what they do. And like they've already done the whole Azumi wants a strong title match, so women's strong title match, so like that's at play already. Her and Michael, we've seen her have matches with Mike before that have been very good. Her and Utami always, like, it don't matter the amount of time, it's always going to be a great match. So you have that. I would probably say, depends on if Momo's on that bullshit or not. If Momo wants to flash back and be like what she used to be, then like, yeah, that match would be great. But if not, then I'll take the Mina match because Mina, is definitely wants to step up to the challenge of being able to wrestle someone like Azumi and like have a match that shows both of their stronger qualities. So yeah, those would be my 3 for her.
Then Julia. So looking at Julia's block, of course, the long-awaited Julia versus Utami match. You kind of like I tried to forget, that there might not be a winner here. I don't think they have any incentive to pick one of them.
Right.
But that would be boring to predict draws. So I'm gonna pick Utami beating her.
Okay.
But as far as the other matches, I'm excited for Julia. I will probably go with her and Mina. I think that would be an interesting match.
Mm.
I think her and Mirai would be a real rough match right
I
there.
loved their match last year.
Um,
More than most people, too.
and Mariah May, because all that trolling stuff ain't really gonna work on Julia. It feels like.
Um. That match is in KBS Hall. They have to try to have a good match. Ooh. Well, time to put on your hard hat, Mariah. You got to bring it straight up. Yeah. So for me, obviously, the Utami match. And after that, I would say the Seriano match because of like the Ice Lore, of course. Like they're good together. Like when they in the title change from Restart to Bari whatever the hell Tekla Mai and Julia call themselves as a trios team. I think that's very good based off their interactions alone. And like I want to, you mentioned Mina. I want to see her have. I want to see what a more competitive Mina and Julia match looks like because the last 2 years has been Julia just smoked her because she's Tam's underling. So now she's on her own. She was a white belt champion. She's a tag champion. I want to see like what a more competitive back and forth match between those two look like. So yeah, that would be mine. But obviously, if that doesn't do it, the Mariah match will because they're great together.
Yeah, man. So moving on, we got
Bari Bombers. That's the name of Tekla, Julia, and Mai.
Hannon. So Hannon versus Julia. Right to the top. Hannon versus Utami. It's like almost like, hey, these are the people you're going to be one day. So you might as well go ahead and show us what you got against these folks. Also, Hannon versus Mariah. I imagine, you look at Mariah come in, Mariah's ready for her push. Hannon's been slowly moving up, the ranks. That's just something to look at. And when we talked about Mariah and why she's so important, kind of is this interloper. Someone like Hannah can have a really cool thing with her, I think. Besides that, not too much.
So, Rich, you're onto something. I'm gonna further extend it. So, Hannon versus Utami is a match I'm definitely interested in. Hannon versus Mirai, obviously, and Hannon versus Micah. This is the judoka block. I didn't realize this. I just looked. It just dawned on me. This is the judoka block. So yeah, her versus her three superior judokas. Her having a tussle with them. That's what I want to see. That's what I see with her in this tournament. And like, obviously, she's going to not have a winning record, but I want to see her have more competitive matches with the core of this block that she wrestled last year. Like Julia destroyed her last year, just fucking eviscerated her. So I want to see her try to have more of a, underdog, gets a couple shots into, kind of, can she get a fluke roll up at the end and then someone kick out at 2.999 or whatever else, and then or that sort of thing, as opposed to just getting demolished like she did last year.
Up next, we got Mariah May. So she is
Micah.
Excuse me, Micah. The small one's always like, I'm like, hold on, where are my eyes? Like, so we got Micah. So unfortunately, there's no Micah Himeka match in this block, so that saddens me. However, looking at it, Micah and Mariah is a natural Hoss match. I think that might be your replacement for your Micah Himeka match. Besides that, I think Micah and Momo, they're both kind of overlooked, I think, at this point. Micah's kind of getting a little bit of shine, but Momo's like, she's living in the doldrums. Sorry, Velkej. But and Micah and Utami, let's do it. They've always had good matches.
Yeah. Mike and Utami, they always have great matches. They always have perfectly paced matches where it's like this could be in any promotion, and they build very well, and they always end up somewhere in the fours. So that's number one. And Micah beats Micah. In tournaments will beat Utami, and then a bigger stage in a different situation, Micah might get that back. But that number one with a bullet. Number two, Julia. Last time they wrestled each other, I think was the 2021 Cinderella tournament where like Micah eliminated Julia by holding her on the outside off the second turnbuckle, like up for a suplex, and basically dropping her on the fucking turnbuckle and splitting Julia's head open. She's fucking. They're both psychopaths. So yeah, like maybe Julia wants to get back in blood after all these years. So yeah, that match would be great, obviously. And her versus Mariah, as you mentioned, just because of the way their matches, their games kind of just relatively poor as power wrestlers together. So yeah, those be it. But I will say, like, her and Ano could just have an awesome match, just based off of just like the way that Ano can bump on her neck and stuff, and the way that Micah just throw anyone around, like that could be a sleeper too.
So up next we got Mariah May, and I think I'm looking at her list. There's not a lot that jumps out at me, so I think I just want to see people beat her up. So Momo, Julia, and Mariah. Y'all go ahead and handle her for me.
Oh man. So I want to see what she could do, like stretching out, like testing her limits. So I want to see what she can do with Azumi, in some high speed chase around the chicken, like his Rocky 2 type of situation. Her versus Mina, of course, because of their tag team, as their current tag team champions in their relationship. I want to see how nasty one of the other ones can get when it comes to wanting to eke out them 2 points over the friendship. In her versus Momo. Like, I want to see what Momo does with her as far as like dealing with Mariah and her what do you call it, the Barbie shtick or whatever else. Like, I wonder how like Momo may handle that. Like, will she pull out the bat or will she not pull out the bat? Just actually just wrestle her? Who knows? But I'll be sure to see it.
Momo rejects all foolishness. I feel like Momo hasn't smiled in years.
Oh man.
Momo Watanabe will be one of those one of those people that are walking around the city in the movie The Crow, and it's like, what's wrong with them?
All right, so next up will be Mina Shirakawa. What do you got as match you look forward to seeing, Rich?
So the Mina, her and Mariah for sure. We gonna see the best of the genre right there. And I'll just let that sit there.
Oh my god.
The Mina and Momo will probably be a good one. A lot of happiness versus a lot of not happiness.
I mean, Mina didn't start flashing like in singles match until she started facing Momo. So yeah, there's definitely something to that. And like the 2 matches that they've had that come to mind for me was like a pay-per-view match, singles match early 2021, and then their Grand Prix match last year. And they played off the story of the prior match. So I'm interested to see what they do for number 3.
And I'll probably say Julia just because it's a quote unquote step up in class for Mina. So yeah, that'll be for what I want to see for her. There is Mariah who took the belt off.
Just to be nasty and talk about like if this was America, how people be talking about like this kind of backhand booking. Yeah, put Mariah and Mina. I want to see it because Mariah was supposed to have that spot. They moved her to the side. They give her her big win to Mina. Mina does damn well with it. And then they had to take it off Mina, make her tag champ as a consolation prize. Yeah, I want to see that.
I feel like there's some heat here.
Yeah, and I want to see Mina get this W and then have a match. Like, don't run from it because that's what they tried to do. They tried to run from it.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I need Mina to go ahead and tap out the white belt champ, and then they have a match in December in Sumo Hall. I want to see that.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But outside of that, obviously, Julia and Utami, just the 2 classes of the 2 heads of the thing. I want to see how she levels up, as you mentioned. So yeah, those are my three.
Up next we've got
Mariah.
Mirai. Mirai and Utami. Mirai and Mina, as you mentioned, and
Mm-hmm.
then Mirai and Micah. That's kind of because Micah looks like she's ripe to catch one on Mirai and get a white belt title shot.
That's a very good point. So as you mentioned, we just talked about it. Mina, because of, because what you just mentioned before. Utami, because they've only had one match, and that was on one of those two back-to-back sumo halls in March of 2022, where Utami just beat her ass. Just didn't even cut off. They gave her nothing, basically. Just, I'm better than you in every facet of this game. You have to catch up to me, and she's closed the gap. I want to see how close she can get it, or if she can, or it's going to be a back and forth competitive match, and even Mariah gets the W, because obviously Utami's not going undefeated in this thing. So this could be a big win, or her big win of the tournament for Mariah. Even though she's probably going to eat some L's as a champion to build up challengers in the future. But obviously has to go out with a big win at some point. Micah final night makes all the sense in the world. And I want to see her versus Ano, because they just meshed well together because of the size and strength and the bumping ability that Ano has. I think those would be my three.
Momo Watanabe. All right. Momo's a phenomenal wrestler.
Yep. Will she get 9 points?
Let's see.
9 points is 4-4-4-1.
Yeah, I think she'll get that. Actually, let's go through it. I feel like we haven't done this for anyone yet. We need to go through the W's and the L's for Momo.
Well, the reason why I asked, because last year she finished right at, I think she finished right at 500.
Oh,
She
man.
went 6-6 in the tournament last year, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh man, so Momo Mirai, I've got that as an L for Momo.
Yep.
So that's 0-1. Micah and Momo, I've got Momo 0-2.
Okay.
Ano and Momo, I'm gonna give that one to Momo.
Okay.
Mariah May and Momo, I'm gonna give that one to Momo.
Okay.
Julia and Momo, I'm gonna give that one to Julia. So she's 2-3.
Okay.
Utami and Momo, I'm gonna give that one to Utami. So she's 2-4. Hanan and Momo, I'm gonna give that to Momo.
Yep.
Mina and Momo.
That's crazy. 6 months ago, that would have been impossible to consider.
I'm gonna give it to Mina.
I know. Yeah.
What's that? 3 and 5?
So, yeah.
Azumi. I'm gonna give that to Momo because Azumi's not winning that late in the tournament.
Now, Rich, you know what this tournament is, and you know how it goes. Like, the most exciting thing for the end of that block would be for Azumi to get her win over Momo after what happened beginning of last year. And the last time they had that singles match where Momo won by loading up her kick pad with that wrench and damn near breaking Azumi's nose.
So a bill is due. Oh my god, this is gonna turn out even worse for Momo than I imagined.
I look, she's getting at least 7. Right? I'm sorry, she's getting at least 8. But like,
Velquez
trying
turned
to
the audio
find
off.
the 10th point is really hard. It's really hard, and obviously, we're not accounting for draws or anything like that. But like,
right.
Just trying to find, finding a 5th win for her is hard.
Yeah.
At this point, it seems.
Velquez, I'm sorry.
Velquez should be apologizing to us, because she should never ended up with that click. If she wasn't in that click, this would be her fate.
Damn. Sayoriano. I don't really know too much about Sayori yet. No, she had the match with she's not the happiest individual. She's not really, on that cosmic. She's with them, but she not with them. So it's kind of like like a Jay
She
White in Chaos kind of thing. It feels like,
okay,
but
so at first it felt like that. And then they had the match and it was like, okay, so what her thing is like, look, I like y'all. I don't like all the shit y'all do. And it's like
damn,
for those that don't like Cosmic Angels, she could be like the one that you like because she don't like all the dancing and singing and all that shit too. Like they're trying to get you from all angles to get you into Cosmic Angels. Like so, it's almost like when Cena was selling those Cena suck shirts. It's like, oh,
we'll take
oh,
your
you don't
dollar
like
too.
Cosmic Angels and all the dancing? Well, you should like Nasboy you should like Ano because Ano's like she ain't with that dancing shit neither.
All I know is that don't seem like it's built to last because Tam is strict on people learning the dances. From my knowledge.
Where are you making this stuff up from?
Just got sources.
Just making
Top
this
75.
head
You
head
top.
cannon just sent
You
out to
know.
the world is supposed to be so.
Top 75. People talk to me. They tell me things.
Oh man, you need to stop getting your Tam Nakano news from Velcash. That's a rotten system. You stop this. But yeah, her versus Julia because as you mentioned the Ice Ribbon Lord, the past. Obviously both of them get real nasty because Rich, this like she's a member of Ozaki Gun with the whips and shit, so like she can get nasty too. So I want to see that. And they talked about their history and passing before. Her versus Azumi really interests me because like Ano can tap into the high speed stuff because she's that kind of talent. And Azumi, like, I feel like if she's going to have a good tournament, Azumi has to beat someone like Ano. And then after that, like, I want to see her versus Momo because it's like, yeah, you evil, but like, I'm more evil because look at what I do in other promotions. So it's like this would
Are
be a
you
real
about this
nasty
life?
match.
It's like, hey, do you want to sing like I feel like Momo is someone who is still redeemable, right? But Ano, from the
A
vibe I
scumbag.
gather, has completely dedicated her life completely to the scumbag nature. And is like, you can come. I am a glimpse, and what if you continue how you're living your life, you will turn to me. But if you save yourself, you can write yourself another chapter.
Rich, so earlier we were talking in the we were talking somewhere, I forgot what we were talking about. I was like talking about Mayuki and like the main thing of like reason why I would want her in Stardom is like, yeah, man, her and Ano, y'all do that act y'all have as a little evil tag team in Oz Academy. Bring that shit to Stardom and y'all just give them Oedo tie. They'll do better than what Nasco and Saki was doing with that shit. Like they'll do better. Right, like if you want to do the whole thing, where like, well, we don't know if we want to actually treat Starlight Kid or Momo like the leader. We do this Nasco and Saki shit, man. Fuck that. Make them the leaders in. They'll do much better. I promise you.
So up next we got Utami. Excuse me. Last but not least, we have Utami. Utami is going to be awesome in this thing. Utami and Julia is like possibly the most anticipated match in the promotion. I think they've been holding off on this for years.
Yep.
Utami and Mirai should be awesome. Utami and Azumi, as James mentioned. Utami and Momo, I think, would be awesome. Yeah, like she's obviously been in America. There's a lot of eyes on Utami right now. I got a text from MP today to say he was getting into Utami Hayashishita.
That's interesting.
So she's like kind of like she's got the eyes on her. I think this is her block. I'm picking Utami to win this block.
Yeah, because it's almost like a process of elimination. It's like, all right, so if Tommy doesn't win, who you got? Julia going back to back.
I mean, they,
It's like
unless they're building up for an end of the year Tam Julia match, the final one, and then she drops that shit back to Julia, and then
Rich,
Julia's going off with it. But
Rich,
I don't think
Rich,
they're going that way.
Rich. I've been thinking about this for a while. Game 7.
You stupid.
When that is gonna be game 7 when that shit happens. I've been like, because remember I was saying last year, like, whoever wins the Grand Prix is going to beat Utami, and like it would probably be well if Tam was the one that wins the Grand Prix, and then like Tam, and then sure Julia gets it from Tam later, so that like you can have it where it's like, all right, now it's 6-6 or whatever else. and we can move on. Or and then you have a 6-6, and then like you have a seventh match down the line. The seventh match still on the line, but they just didn't reverse. So it's like I thought that they were going to have like the long Julia reign or whatever else. That's why you do Tam first or whatever, but they decided to do it short run so that Julia can get like the red belt a second
That's the
time.
only caveat to all this. Like I pick Utami, right? But what James is talking about is fully on the table.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, because honestly,
look, and they love to push Julia. They would love to make her like a 2-time champion. Be like, fuck it, like, and it only will make the match bigger.
Right, and then like you go into it, and it's not just the or you think about it, it's probably not just the red belt. It's the red belt and like the strong belt, probably. So, but I will still put number one Utami as number one for win this block, and I put Julia number two. Who will you put number three? That's my real question because I don't. Micah maybe.
Micah's been getting some momentum. It looks like kind of like she was involved with the generational struggle match. I think you go with Micah.
Okay, yeah. All right, so who do you have? I don't know if we went through who you have as third for the red block if you have one.
Third for the red.
Because you said Maya, you said Mayu. You probably have Kamatani. Who you have as a third?
I think you gotta go. You gotta go with Shuri, don't you? You gotta go with Shuri. Don't you?
Yeah. My bad. Forgive me. Yeah. Shuri could win this thing and be like, oh, I'm in.
Or Tam, either one.
You think they would have her win as a champion?
No, I'm saying like be third.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah. So yeah, man.
Overall, should be a great tournament. If y'all haven't got like the message of like us going through each individual name and just keep repeating the names over and over and over. Yeah.
Right.
It's like that.
Like, so I think you look at her top two from both blocks, like there's a lot of history between all of them. Really. Except for maybe like Julia and Kamatani, but they had a match last year in the Grand Prix. But like Utami and Julia have had eyes around each other for a long time. They just never had a match. Mayu and Julia, they've had their last 3 straight matches have all been time limit draws. Obviously, Mayu and Utami, they faced each other last year in the semifinals for the IWGP Women's Belt, and also before that, like Utami took the red belt off of Mayu in 2020. There's just a lot of stuff. So yeah, I think I'll probably go with Kamatani Utami for the thing because I feel like given the year that they've had and neither one have the belt, like this would be a big thing for them to have that moment. I think that's at this point where they are, like they can have the best match they ever had, and a lot of people think their best match probably like a 4 1/4 thing. I feel like they could smoke that now. So, I feel like that's the one if they do it. But obviously, the IWGP champions, they might stand in the way of that. The Bushiroad politicking might get in the way of that. Mayu got a movie on deck, so who knows?
I'm very torn, like between Mayu and Utami, because Utami has been somebody that has been on the back burner all of last year, and it just seems like the perfect time. But Mayu's got that IWGP belt, even though what is that belt at this point now? But it still says IWGP. James says they have the movie coming out. They still have her and Tam to blow off on a big show. This could easily be the Hiroshi Tanahashi style. Yeah, this is Mayu's last one. And James, I may have picked Mayu last year, and I was wrong. But I'm picking Mayu Utami to win this year.
Well, I think I'll stick with Utami or Kamatani. But what I will say is this: there are 2 matches. There are 2 matches where if the the Grand Prix winner wins, and I'm looking at Sumo Hall, and I'm already like, okay, I'm going back to Japan. Game 7 or Mayu and Tam. Like, either one of those matches will get me to do that all over again. So that's not what I'm picking as a betting man or as a prognosticator, handicapper. But those will be the ones that will move me the most.
You'll take them.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, man. I guess we can wrap that up there. But yeah, Kenny Omega wrestled